I am the chairman of the United States Transhumanist Party. My name is Gennady Stolyarov II. Many of you have heard me speak yesterday or at prior events. And with me, I'm pleased to have Arin, Vahanian, who is the director of marketing for the United States Transhumanist Party. He has been doing an excellent job spreading information about us on social media, including coverage of this RAAD Fest and the presentations that have transpired here thus far. I will start with a brief statement of where the Transhumanist Party is at right now and where we need to be. So we are at 1,100 members, as I mentioned yesterday. We need to get to at least 10,000 for a truly self-sustaining, decentralized organization that doesn't have the failure points that a centrally coordinated organization would. The goal is for transhumanism as a movement to become self-perpetuating, so that if one of us falls ill or decides to go on vacation or is otherwise indisposed, the activity can continue at the same level. And for example, we have Newton Lee, the chairman of our California Transhumanist Party, who is an example of what we want to see happen at every state. So Newton has taken the initiative to organize the California Transhumanist Party, to recruit officers, to set up a website, to host meetings, to publish video recordings of the meetings on the California Transhumanist Party YouTube channel. He has several Instagram accounts that have been covering RAAD Fest. So if we had that in every single state, we would reach a lot more people. And right now, we have a Transhumanist Party in Nevada, which I'm the chief executive of. We have one in California. We have a few less active, I would say, embryonic transhumanist parties in Texas, Illinois, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Colorado. But if you're residing in any of the other states, just let me know if you're interested in setting up even something so basic as a Facebook group. And the Facebook group could be the point of coordination for individuals who reside in your state who are interested in transhumanism, life extension, any area of emerging technologies, if they're interested in, say, the spread of renewable energy in that state, if they're interested in automation, robotics, computer games, educational games, anything that can transition us from the current paradigm to the future. They're more than welcome to get involved. What I seek to achieve over the next 2 years is making transhumanism a mainstream movement. That's one of the reasons why I'm running for what seems to be a very mundane political office, the Board of Trustees of the Indian Hills General Improvement District, which oversees the water system, the sewer system, the road maintenance, the park maintenance, so just the basic infrastructure of everyday life. But what I would bring to that role is advocacy of science, technology, and reason, finding win-win solutions for people in the neighborhood, and making sure that decisions are based on facts and evidence, and looking at each proposal from the standpoint of the benefits and the costs and the well-being of the residents in the neighborhood, not an adversarial mentality like, I have a certain interest and I don't want my neighbor to be getting something that is perceived to threaten that interest. I think technology can align everyone's goals and incentives. We are still in the process of trying to find a candidate for 2020. As you know, Zoltan Istvan ran in 2016, and then he switched to the Libertarian Party for his run for governor of California. California has an open primary, so he was able to compete in the primary, but it also has a top two system in the general election. So a Democrat and a Republican essentially are going to be running against one another, as I understand it, in the general election. unfortunately, these top two systems don't allow minor political party candidates to be placed on the ballot. And I haven't heard from Zoltan since then what his political plans are. He may want to just continue as a speaker because he has a lot of recognition from that. He may want to become an advisor to a more established political figure. But that really is his call. What I want to do is set up an open electronic primary for anyone who wants to be nominated as the candidate for the U.S. Transhumanist Party in 2020. In early 2019, I will open up a period of about 1 to 2 months for people to put themselves forward as potential nominees for our consideration. They'll be able to put up a biographical statement, a statement of their values and platform on our website, and then they'll be able to campaign online or in person, attracting whatever attention and support they will seek. And hopefully we'll have a lot of options. And then we will run an electronic ranked preference vote where all of our members who are signed up either via these hard copy sign-up sheets or on our website will be able to provide an ordering of all of the candidates. So you don't have to just vote for what you perceive to be a palatable but suboptimal choice that's likely to win. You can put your number one preference as the person you truly think should be representing the Transhumanist Party. What happens then is the person with the fewest number one votes gets eliminated, and the number two votes of everyone who selected that person as number one get reassigned as the number one votes in the next round of the instant runoff process. And we can do the instant runoff process essentially right on the spot once we have all of the votes collected. We've done that with our platform. We've done that with the Transhumanist Bill of Rights version 2.0. So we have a lot of experience in this type of process. So hopefully it will go smoothly, and hopefully sometime in early 2019, maybe March or April, we would have a nominee. There's an advantage for that. I really dislike this primary circus that goes on within the Democratic and Republican parties for months and months at a time. And it's only really the latest sensational thing that is reported about a particular candidate that gets any sort of attention. And when voters in a given state, for instance, vote for a particular candidate, sometimes they don't have a choice because the candidate they would have wanted has been eliminated already. But often if they do have a choice, say the Iowa voters or the New Hampshire voters, they're going to vote for the person who might have had favorable coverage in the last few days. They're not going to vote for a person against whom some journalist did a hit piece a few days ago. And we want the decision-making to be a lot more objective. So I would say it's best for everybody to vote at the same time throughout the country or throughout the world in case of U.S. Transhumanist Party members in the same primary, have the vote be done once, have the instant runoff process be an objective way of deciding who gets the nomination, and then go from there. And then have a year and a half for that person to reach out to the general public as the candidate for president. One other thing I will point out, and this is just to set up the expectations, this would still be a primarily educational campaign. So we want to challenge the two parties' political dominance of the U.S. electoral system. I don't think we're going to get a transhumanist elected president in 2020 unless there's complete political chaos, like blood in the streets, which we certainly don't want, and people are seeking for any sort of sane, rational alternative. I do think the two political parties are rapidly committing suicide because of their toxic and destructive rhetoric, but even I would say they're both doing it in their own peculiar way. So I won't go into detail about the methods of suicide that each political party has chosen, but we are the party that opposes all sorts of suicide, including political suicide. We want to pursue a very level-headed, factually oriented, evidence-based type of advocacy. So we support science, we support education, we support people learning true facts, not alternative facts. We support a vision that actually offers a way out of the current political predicament, because we're not all about competing interest groups. We're not all about how this particular identity group or this particular business interest is better than the others. We are about the common problems that humankind faces. So we are all, unfortunately, vulnerable to illness. We are all, unfortunately, still mortal. We all, unfortunately, have to deal with material scarcity. We all have limited brains that are subject to cognitive biases. And no matter what we believe in terms of the content of our ideology, we all inhabit the same world. And we all have the same challenges that we should collaborate on rather than fight one another on. I think that's actually a very centrist position. It's a very mainstream-friendly position that people who don't know the word transhumanist might be sympathetic to. And if we use the word transhumanism in the context of these shared values that we can appeal to, I think transhumanism could become the unifying concept for political and cultural discussion within the next decade. So our candidate needs to be someone who can really articulate that very well. So not someone who spurts out one-liners in front of the media, not someone who is a showman necessarily, but someone who is thoughtful, who can speak with a journalist or an academic, someone who can give a good, persuasive presentation before a large crowd or before a smaller setting like this one. And also, I'm not going to be that person, because I will not be 35 in 2020, and I wasn't born in the United States. So constitutionally, I'm not eligible to run for president, and besides, I'm more of a behind-the-scenes technocratic administrator type. But this is an opportunity for each of you to think about whom you would like to see as our candidate in 2020, because the field is wide open. And furthermore, I invite you to think about candidates for local and state level offices, because the presidential campaign is going to be primarily educational. I don't expect us to win, but we could win a few local offices. Any candidate who runs as independent or nonpartisan is potentially open for us to endorse, because an endorsement doesn't require ballot access. So we don't have to go out with volunteers collecting petition signatures. If an independent candidate has already qualified for the ballot, let him or her come forward, and we can vote internally in our electronic ranked preference ballots to see if the members agree that that candidate sufficiently aligns with our platform and our values. Also, please let me know if you have ideas for model legislation, either legislation that we can craft and publish on our website, or other model laws that have already been put forward that would align with our platform. The beauty of a model law is it can be developed really by anyone. There are think tanks who write model laws. There are representatives of particular interest groups who write model laws. And a legislator can take a model bill, adapt it to the context of a particular state, like the codification conventions within a given state's statutes, or even adapt it in a federal context, and then try to get it enacted into law. That can even be done by representatives of the major political parties. So if you think about specific legislation that can provide incremental gains, like Charlie's Law in Texas, which Dr. Neil Reardon mentioned, that would be something we would be very happy to work on and advocate. And now I'd like to turn the discussion over to Arin Vahanian, who is our Director of Marketing, to talk a bit about his efforts, and after that, Newton Lee, the Chairman of the California Transhumanist Party.
Thank you, Gennady. Appreciate it. And thanks, everyone, for being here this morning, taking time out of your schedule. We really do appreciate it, and this is just a great opportunity for us to interface with people, to get their feedback, to hear about their thoughts about transhumanism, about the Transhumanist Party, because as Gennady mentioned, our goal is to really grow the movement, really grow the party, and the more people we have, the more like-minded people we have, the more things that we can do. With 1,100 people, there's less stuff you can do than if you have 10,000 or 100,000. And more importantly, the more people we have, the more we'll be able to move forward the causes that we really believe in, which I really do believe are noble. A lot of these causes have been discussed in the various presentations you've been seeing these last couple days. So just to give a little background about myself, I joined the party a couple months ago, so I'm a relative newbie, and I'm still trying to learn as much as possible, talk to a lot of people. My goal is to really change the public perception about the Transhumanist Party as well as transhumanism. I believe there are a lot of misunderstandings for various reasons, proliferated in the media, mass media, social media, and my job is, what I would like to do is change public perception, because I believe that's a challenge we currently have. I mean, listen, things like curing disease, right? You would think this is so obvious, this is so mainstream. Who wouldn't want to cure disease? Who wouldn't want to alleviate poverty? Who wouldn't want to live longer and healthier? So there's this idea floating around that somehow transhumanism is a niche ideology. Sorry, this is nonsense. There's nothing niche about curing disease. There's nothing niche about helping people live dignified, healthy lives. So I think that what we really need to focus on is helping change and shift public perception of the various things that we're working on. That's been a challenge. I've been, whenever I've been on the road and talking to people about transhumanism, well, it is true, it's a very diverse movement comprised of people with diverse backgrounds. This is actually one of the most beautiful things about it. But I do think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what transhumanism is, for various reasons, which I won't go into today, but suffice it to say that I really believe we have a real opportunity here to communicate our message, spread our goals, and it's really a testament to everyone involved that we've been able to double the membership in a very short amount of time. And we have to continue these efforts. So one of the things I've been trying to focus on heavily the last few months is doing more outreach via social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn. What I'm working on is having a consistent message across all of these platforms. It turns out it's actually a hell of a lot of work on one platform, never mind to do it on many platforms. So that's really what I've been trying to focus on the last few months, writing articles for the Transhumanist Party website, posting on Facebook. I hope some of you have been reading the posts, and if you have, it's really useful to just share them, comment on them. That's how the algorithm works. The more comments we have, the more visibility it will get, and so forth. So that's really, these last couple months since I joined, that's really what I've been trying to do. Very heavily promote our causes on social media. Also educate people as to the values and goals that we stand for, and do my little part to help shift public perception, because I think really that's one of the biggest challenges we have. Well, listen, we have so many brilliant, kind-hearted, intelligent, thoughtful people in our party and in the movement, but for whatever reason that is really not being communicated. So that's really what I'd like to focus on, that aspect of it. And I always say, listen, we're the only political party that has the word human in it, right? We're not a machine movement, we're a human movement. José Cordeiro talks about a revolution. Absolutely. You know what revolution it is? It's a human revolution. What we're doing right now, right? What Bill and everyone else has been talking about. This is a human revolution, right? The things we're working on, life extension, helping people lead dignified, healthy lives. This is humanity. This is humanity. This is human movement. So this is, I believe, something we need to focus on. Something I've been trying to focus on the last few months. And again, I appreciate everyone's support and cooperation, and I've just been struck by how friendly and just kind and lovely everyone's been. The people I've been honored to meet the last couple of days have shown nothing but kindness and openness, and I really appreciate that. And it's these values that I'd like to help proliferate on social media. So again, we really appreciate the support, and we love having you here, and we'll do everything we can.
Yes, thank you very much, Arin. And your marketing efforts over the past several months have been quite exceptional. So we are definitely grateful to have you on our team of officers. by the way, it is a growing team, as is our group of advisors. So there's no fixed number of slots. Anybody who wants to make a difference in any area of our endeavors is free to join us and even, in essence, write their own job description, because we're an all-volunteer organization. We embrace the principles of grassroots activism, and it's really doing what we are passionate about that would also advance the goals of the transhumanist movement and public awareness of transhumanism. By the way, we've just had Natasha Vita-More and José Cordeiro join us, who have been advocating for decades to international audiences about transhumanist philosophy, life extension, and the death of death, which will hopefully be forthcoming within our lifetimes. Yes. So here.
Oh yeah, my book.
Yes.
I think one thing that's really important to make known amongst any transhumanist political agenda is that we have had a political winning in the past. And I think that making that known, whether or not anyone runs on a transhumanist platform, is to me irrelevant, because there's so many different views. I think that we need to be really honest and upfront and transparent about, is there a transhumanist party? Number one. Number two, is there a transhumanist platform? Number three, who has been elected? Has anyone ever won an election? And those three things are important when we take a look at the business of politics. Running for office is not easy. It's a very arduous task. So like Zoltan, who I respect and like very much, Zoltan was not legally on a ticket. So that was great promotion for an idea, a concept, but we want to be very clear about that. Do you know of anyone who has run on a transhumanist platform and won an election in the United States? Anyone?
That would be you, right?
That would be me. So you all should know that. I did run in 1992 for a city council person position in Los Angeles, and I won by a landslide. I was on the Green Party ticket. So you might say, why were you on the Green Party ticket? The reason is because I really love the environment, and I couldn't find any other ticket to run on, and I'm not a libertarian. So that was really a difficult thing. But the only reason I won was not because I'm great or I had anything that interesting to say. It was because I had a TV show. And that TV show reached 100,000 people, and it was all on transhumanism. So people didn't even understand the concept, but I quit after a year because there was so much fighting and arguing on the Green Party ticket. And believe me, my platform was technology, and people wanted to know how technology could help the environment, but the Greens did not like technology. They were kind of like postmodernists, not understanding technology. So it was not any big deal. But I just want it known that if anyone's going to run on a ticket, please do it legally.
Yes.
And don't promote it unless you do it legally, because it makes us all look bad if you say, I'm running for senator, or I'm running for this position, that position, and you don't have the legal background. There is a process that must be followed. And I wish more people would run on a ticket. We did have one Alcor member try to run for a Senate seat in Scottsdale, in Arizona, and didn't get enough votes to get on the ticket. But if we work together, and someone does want to run for Congress or Senate or a city council person or county council person or mayor, I think that would be great. And I think we should all help each other figure out how to do it legally and correctly.
Yes. And I think you make an important point. Ballot access requirements vary across jurisdictions and across levels of political office. And the more local the office is, the easier it is to get on the ballot. So for instance, I have ballot access right now for the Indian Hills General Improvement District because it's a nonpartisan position. The two political parties did not desire to restrict access to candidates. So there are 3 open board seats, 4 people are running. I have a decent chance. And this is an instance in which the Transhumanist Party has endorsed it. It is officially a nonpartisan position, so there's an opening here. And anyone who is an independent candidate who qualifies for ballot access as an individual is also able to seek our endorsement and our support. What I would say matters is the content of that person's platform and principles.
Let me just add quickly, I'm actually running for office to the European Parliament on an immortalist platform, not transhumanist, because we believe we have more chances to be elected talking about rejuvenation, longevity. And there are several parties being created in Europe. Actually, in Germany, they expect to have 2 members of parliament in Brussels. I think I will be elected for Spain, and we are working with some people in Italy and in Finland. Again, this is going to be a longevity rejuvenation platform, not transhumanist, but all of us are obviously transhumanists.
You said immortality. Do you mean longevity or immortality?
Yeah.
Immortality is a little squirrely.
It's longevity, obviously.
That's better.
So that you know, so I'm running for office, and the election is on May 26th, so you can vote for me. Well, no, if you are Europeans. Also, we are celebrating 20 years of transhumanism, formal transhumanism in Madrid, in Translation Conference. That is why you have all the Spanish flags, because it will be in Spain, October 19, 2021. So I hope some of you can join us. And we are going to be talking about the election for the European Parliament. And if everything goes okay, we should have 4 countries in Brussels talking about longevity.
Thank you very much, José. And, well, we definitely hope to hear some hopeful news out of Europe. Ultimately, my view is transhumanism is an international movement, and what we seek is the benefit of all humans irrespective of national boundaries. So we should support one another no matter where we run for office.
Yes, agreed.
And now, Newton, you have been spearheading the efforts of the California Transhumanist Party, particularly relevant given where we're located right now. So could you discuss your achievements over the past few months?
Oh, well, I want to say achievements, but I really want to help people to understand transhumanism. So that's why I'm the education and media advisor for the United States Transhumanist Party. And so I started California chapter, well, not chapter, but party. I call it a chapter because we work very closely together, like ACM, and I've been editor-in-chief of ACM for a long time, and we have chapters all over the world in computer science. So anyway, in California, obviously it's a big state. You know, there's a lot of big players, Apple, Google, and Facebook, all these big organizations. It would be nice to actually, work with them, because we are science-based, we are technology-based. And I'm very happy that Natasha and José are here today. Everybody, I'm happy to say everybody, of course. But Natasha has experience in politics, which is very important. We're just learning from, and you're running for office, so you're going to get a lot of good experience, for sure. So this morning, I had a long talk at breakfast. The woman, Bill was there for the first half of the conversation. And I finished the second half, which turns out to be a very long conversation.
I wish I'd stayed long enough to hear you talk.
Thank you. So basically, a lot of people believe in the transhumanist movement, but they do not believe in the party, a political party. So we need to somehow answer the question, why do we need a political party instead of just the
right there,
movement?
And I hope that your book will really encourage more understanding of the FDA, for example. One of the issues that we're facing right now is the FDA. Luckily, they just regrouped in their view on people who are terminal being able to take, alternative experimental medicine. This is a major, big deal. But I think that one area that a transhumanist platform or party needs to focus on is protecting our legislation, our rights. And one thing I asked Senator Flake in Arizona and discussing topics with him is, why don't politicians go back to school like lawyers have to be? They have to go with the American Bar Association to have their credentials with the continuing education. Medical doctors with the AMA have to go back to school to get to be certified, continue practicing law. Politicians or anyone involved with the drug administration needs to be updated on what society needs, what the people want and need. And I think that's a big gap that the Transhumanist Party could look at. Where is this knowledge and education? Why isn't it being provided? And it's about our human rights in that way.
Yeah, I did bring up FDA at the
good.
meeting this morning. Well, conversation this morning at breakfast time. But the point that the other person is making is that why can't we just lobby the Congress, lobby,
Good.
Mm-hmm. And I think
So-
we can. I think the key is, and the reason why a transhumanist party as such is necessary, is to be an alternative to this partisan acrimony, to be a kind of objective rallying point where people who identify as Republicans or Democrats can still collaborate with us, but we're not taking sides in this partisan struggle. We're not saying, oh, we are against everything that Donald Trump is for, or make America great again. So we're not taking these hardline positions. We're not going out in the streets and joining the Antifa or the alt-right protesters, because what we're ultimately seeking to do is build a future of universal prosperity, of technological progress, of longer life, appealing to the universal human values, not the sectarian types of ambitions that some people have. So to have a transhumanist party that stands above the fray, that looks upward while the left and the right contend with one another, is a very powerful message. Now, along these lines, on the flight over here, I was reading an article called Mimetic Tribes and the Culture War 2.0. It's published by the Intellectual Explorers Club, and it was discussing how there are actually a lot of ideological movements that have kind of fragmented into these small-scale tribes, each with their own vocabulary, their own very specific aspirations. And there was just a sentence, an aside, mentioning transhumanists, and the authors describe transhumanists as a tribe, which I would disagree with, but the characterization was transhumanists are staying out of this culture war, which is very interesting. We have managed to remain above the fray. We have managed to avoid descending into the mud pit. What happens when the dust clears? What happens when the other mimetic tribes have exhausted themselves? Maybe we, with our vision, can just step into the vacuum, and if we have a sufficiently well-developed, constructive set of proposals and people are looking for answers, we would have the answers ready. And we don't necessarily have to win the presidency. As long as we have someone out there in the public view, we could win a few local offices and show people what we can do. And eventually, especially as technology advances, especially as the culture becomes more receptive to transhumanist ideas, this will become the obvious option for many people. And in essence, transhumanists could just walk into the major institutions of society without a fight, and we'll be in the next era of our civilization. That is the most peaceful, humane, possible way into the future. I despise violent revolution. I despise the kind of upheaval that damages people and undermines societal stability, undermines the functioning of our economic systems. We don't want that. But what if we can have reform and revolution completely peacefully? That, I think, is a worthwhile vision to strive for. I also wanted to let Bill Andrews share a few thoughts, because he's been one of our strongest supporters, and in northern Nevada, he and I have met many times over the past year, both formally and informally. We have discussed extensively longevity, health, advocacy at my enlightenment salons. So, Bill, we would be very interested to hear some of your thoughts.
Well, as Newton heard this morning, I am very not into politics. Okay, so I'm not a part of this because I believe in politics. I'm in this because I believe in transhumanism. Okay, and so I want to support the party. And for instance, when you were saying who would want to run for president, I thought, why would anybody want to run for president?
A robot.
Huh?
A robot.
Sophia.
That's a great idea.
Sophia for president.
Yeah, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's needed.
I'm a big believer, and as the other person of the party was saying at breakfast this morning, we don't need a party. And I agreed with that tremendously. But the point I made this morning was, let's do everything. Let's have a political party. Let's also have people who aren't part of the political party campaign it, let's call it a movement. And that seemed like the best thing to me. But I'm going to, believe me, anybody working towards transhumanism, I'm going to be supporting the best I can. And I'm surprised that, I'm sorry Dan Filster had to leave, but I'll tell you, he's a major political person. I invited him to this meeting. It's the first time he's been to one of these meetings, and I think he's going to be a very useful person.
See, one thing I see different, that we are so different from other major parties, because if you're Democrats, Republicans, they can't separate, right? You can be a registered Democrat or a registered Republican. You cannot be both. Whereas in Transhumanist Party, you can be a member of the Transhumanist Party, and you can be a Democrat, you can be a Republican, you can be, independent, whatever, right? So we're very inclusive, and I would love to see more women. Today we have Natasha representing the women.
Yes, so let's talk about that, because actually I did a demographic analysis of the first 1,000 members of the U.S. Transhumanist Party, and we have about 15.3% of our members who happen to be female. And there's a bit of a margin of error because I had to infer genders from names, and some of the names were inconclusive as to what the gender was. However, it's no greater than 20% of our membership, and 20% was kind of the heuristic that I used when previously characterizing the composition of the transhumanist movement. I spoke with Aubrey de Grey yesterday, and I asked him for his thoughts about this demographic disparity, and he actually said, well, if you're getting 15% of the members as women, you're doing a fairly good job, because a lot of the natural constituency of the transhumanist movement comes from the tech industry, which is, for whatever reason, heavily male-dominated. But obviously, if we want to have a society-wide adoption of transhumanism, we need to have the demographics of our movement represent the demographics of the wider society. So, Natasha, I wanted to hear your thoughts as someone who's been in this movement for more than 3 decades. What is it that enables women to join the transhumanist movement, and what are some of the obstacles to more women joining?
Okay, what enables women to join when they think about the science and technology that's going to help with their bodies, number one, with their families, with their children, with pregnancy and birth. And so I think that there was great strides made with infertility that really brought women more aware of, freezing embryos. Remember, I couldn't have, I lost a baby in pregnancy, and I went through infertility, but they only froze sperm, not eggs. So it was the male is all, that type of seniority or priority, the sperm is more important than the egg. And that's just a metaphor for how society and technology has looked at these issues. I think that women need to get away from being little girls and giggling and trying to look pretty all the time, and learn how to stand up for themselves and be sexy seniors and be sexy, lovely human beings that have a brain. I see with my students, I teach grad and undergrad, there's more women in computer science and robotics and cybersecurity now than ever. So it's just a matter of time.
Okay.
I think that transhumanism started when women were just learning how to fend for themselves, basically, in the 1980s. And so in the 1990s, it was Silicon Valley. There were a lot of women involved in a lot of women programmers in Silicon Valley who were transhumanists. And so I don't see that as an issue. In the sciences, more and more women are becoming scientifically inclined and certainly doing research. So I think that's an advantage. I just don't see an engagement. It's like when I asked, I just did this as kind of a joke, funny, but how many of you knew of any person who had been elected? Well, for God's sake, I'm a pioneer of transhumanism. I wrote the manifesto. If you guys don't know my background, for goodness sake, that is insulting, right? Now, if it was a man who had been elected in Los Angeles, the multimedia capital of the world, who had had a TV show and won the election by a landslide, you all would be referring to him, right? So I don't take offense by that. It's just the way it is. And so it's interesting that is the way it is. It'll change, to be sure. I think that that it's one thing I think that we need to be really wise about is not to focus on men or women, that it doesn't matter. And I think as soon as we
do that, let's do exactly that.
If we remove that man-woman thing, more women will come.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like I'm the only woman sitting here. I don't feel insecure that I'm the only woman sitting here. It doesn't bother me at all. What I found curious is that this is a political group, and you don't even know who was elected and won by a landslide in the largest city in the world for media. And that means that it wasn't important. Well, maybe it's not important, but in this little teeny world, microcosm tribe that we have, it should be important. Not because it's me, but because someone did. It could have been a man. It doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. But that should be understood. I love what you said about the party not having any right, left, up, down, this, that we are a multiplicity, a diversity of thinking, and that ties into a really important discussion you and I had yesterday, remember, about life extension and death. The transhumanist perspective is, if you don't want to live forever, that's fine. Your right, your body, your choice, morphological freedom. Whereas other groups, other tribes of thinking say if the death of death, but that's fine. I mean, death is bad, but if people want to die, that's their choice. You don't have to live forever if you don't want to. Another thing that's consequential, that's very transhumanist and ought to be understood is that there are different types of death. In the future we will have multi-environments, substrates to coexist within, contain, change gender, all this other stuff in the far future. But I think we need to start setting a precedent now that diversity is essential. That you can be a Christian and I can be an atheist. It doesn't matter. If we all agree that we are evolving, we must become, I hate to say smarter, more intelligent. I don't want to get into that crowd of, IQ stuff, but better people, kinder, more generous and understanding. And it's that understanding and accepting of our differences that will make a difference. Yeah.
I shouldn't say anything, but
no, go ahead.
As an outsider, I found that argument, especially about death and about kind of these multiplicities of options, to be the most compelling.
Right.
That resonated with me and made me feel like that this could be an option that I would explore.
Well, a lot of people have expressed fears about being forced to live forever. I don't know how that's possible.
It reminds me of Sartre's no exit. You can't get out of life. You're stuck in this room.
You can't force a rejuvenation treatment on somebody. It's
freedom.
Right, and even from a physical, practical standpoint, it's not like somebody is going to, let's say, spew out some particles that magically rejuvenate everyone they come into contact with. And so just by being in this room, maybe they're floating nanobots, they come at you and they rejuvenate your organism whether you like it or not. I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are always going to have a choice. Will I go into the clinic, get that rejuvenation treatment, get that augmentation in my body or not? And there are going to be different levels of adoption.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think that voice needs to be heard. Mm-hmm. That people are so afraid of fascism, or even I remember in the 1990s, even in the 1980s, talking about transhumanism, they said, "Well, you just want a homogeneous, perfect future." I said, "No, I do not want to be perfect. Once you reach perfection, it's stasis." Mm-hmm. No, you don't know what you're going to become. You just want to keep on trying to do your best on a daily basis. So I love what you're doing, and I love everything you said, and Bill, what you said. I really resonate with that. And I think if we get out of this gender mode and just be that, because listen, who knows? Maybe you were a woman and you're a transgender. I don't know. You can't tell anymore who's what, and it doesn't matter. So we need to get out of that mindset, or black, white, female, male, and be a community of people who just desire a better future and want to live to create it.
True.
Thank you.
But like, for example, in computer games, what happened is that a lot of computer games are biased towards men.
Yes.
Because of the male programmers. Although there are a lot of female programmers today, But guess what? I've been told by female programmers that in meetings, in decision making, males still dominate. Okay, so all the games that developed are still male-oriented. So yes, we are we're gender neutral. Doesn't matter, transgender or robot even, right? Robot have no sex anyway. So, but we do have to address the diversity, address the cultural differences and gender differences, because men and women are a little different. Robots are also different from us. So we need to give everybody a chance to, evolve to.
Inclusivity is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, first of all, it's in a peaceful existence. First of
Yes.
all, not fighting, but peaceful
Yes.
coexistence, and then to use the uniqueness to advance civilization, to advance humankind. Like you said earlier, to become wiser. Why was King Solomon labeled a wise man? Because he was wise. It's not just about having knowledge. It doesn't matter, computer science or not. It's about what you do with technology. Are you using nuclear power to generate electricity, or are you using nuclear power to kill people in atomic bombs? So these kind of things, is what human beings are supposed to learn, to become wiser. Know how to use technology to benefit everybody.
So we have about a half hour for questions that anyone else might have from the audience, and I wanted to make this opportunity available, and we'll each try to answer any inquiries that you might have. So, yes.
Yeah, sure. I've been involved with some of the subgroups in helping with political balloting and things, and know all the bureaucracy that goes with it. So, and I think it's needed to be done. I'm hearing you say about the division that's being brought into it, and you brought up the division of women and men. There's just so much division, belief systems, whether you're atheist, religion. There's this division all the way around lines. So I love the fact that you're bringing in Democrat, Republican, and you're taking that away. I think it's important that's discussed today. One of the biggest things I'm seeing as a divider is money. Is people only have so much. So when you're stressed and you don't have your house and your family and things taken care of, money's an issue. How much can I give you? The whole political system is designed for money support.
Yeah.
And it climbs up the ladder to Democrat, Republican. So if there's no money, you be the best candidate in the world. You're done.
So this is where I think the Transhumanist Party is pursuing a unique approach. Thus far, we are an entirely non-monetary organization. We take no donations on purpose, and the practical reason is it's administratively a lot easier. I don't have to file reports with the Federal Election Commission. Even for my own individual campaign as an independent candidate, I am not taking any money. And I do file the campaign finance disclosures with the Nevada Secretary of State, but all of the entries in there are zero. Very easy to submit an electronic report of that sort. So that means we have some challenges, but we also have some freedom in the sense that we're not beholden to any donors. We can actually speak our minds. We don't have to do something for the sole purpose of fundraising. We don't have to make our policies contingent on appeasing our campaign donors, as the Democrats and Republicans have to do, and we can focus on principled advocacy. The downside, of course, is in order to get anything done, we need to have either a volunteer or a robot or some sort of automated system do it.
We were just talking about this in our Humanity Plus thing. You don't need money to be an expert at social media.
Exactly.
And if messages, positive, inclusive messages that are smart about issues go out, maybe not on a daily basis, but are sent out from the transhumanist perspective, that shows wisdom and fairness and not fake news and not boasting and bragging. We're the only ones who do this. Every time I hear someone say, we're the first, we're the only ones, it's like, no, just logical, solid information that shows another way of thinking. We will garner more people than ever, and that doesn't take a lot of money.
So I didn't mean it to be to put the problem as so we got to know what the problem is to solve,
Right.
to have a solution.
Right.
So I think in the end, when you get to that Democrat Republican, the popular vote doesn't count. That's why it's so hard for the popular vote to work on the Democrat Republican ticket. On the local scale, it's a popular vote.
Yes.
At the end game, you can have the best land side in the world, and if electoral says, or DC, they get it. So it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And for the end game on the top, so somewhere along the line, that has to be looked at too. So I like it that you're working this local level, and I get that. And California is full of that right now, with local farmers and all the pesticides and GMO and the big money people try to put down local organic farmers, which we need for agelessness. If we aren't eating from the earth, we're in trouble. If we're eating pesticide and GMO food, it's saying I want to live forever. You're screwed.
Yeah.
So I'll make a few comments, and then, Jose, I will let you ask your question. But in terms of federal politics, we do recognize the Electoral College is an issue. It essentially skews the outcome of the popular vote, and we do have in our member-adopted platform a plank to support the abolition of the Electoral College. But on GMOs, genetically modified organisms, I would have to disagree with you, because genetically modified organisms are an application of technology. I would say they are transhumanist in the sense that they're really a continuation of the adaptation of food to human needs. It's just historically that has been done through cruder techniques like selective breeding over the course of generations. With genetic modification, the modifications are more precise. They're more directed toward what humans would need nutritionally, or what could enable a food to be preserved for longer. So it is a way to use technology to essentially control what we consume. Now, in terms of how certain corporations have behaved, like Monsanto, that may have been ethically questionable, but that's not due to their technology. It's due to their corporate practices or their attempts to limit competition, or, say, sue farmers whose fields may have been cross-contaminated with Monsanto's seeds. But I would say, for a transhumanist, we're not opposed to technology. We're not opposed to genetic modification. We believe in choice, so people should have a choice to eat what they want to eat. But I don't think there is a society-wide or industry-wide conspiracy to feed people suboptimal produce. That being said, I'll let Jose ask.
Because we have to go, but I just wanted to say, fantastic, congratulations. Count with me on anything I can help you with. Also, and you forgot ambassador from Spain, by the way, in your slide yesterday, which is me, and Latin America as well. Talking about money, I'm running now a campaign. It takes a lot of money. So I'm basically raising $250,000 euros for the campaign. Actually, I think I will be elected, but you never know. And it takes money, unfortunately. Still, politics is politics. And because I was offered to join both parties in Spain, we have like the Republicans and the Democrats. I'm taking this to Spain, by the way,
okay,
to advertise you. Both parties, because now I am like the Aubrey de Grey and Ray Kurzweil of Spain, because I talked about immortality, singularity, and all of that. So both parties came to me, which is absolutely incredible. I was amazed that the Republicans in Spain, called Partido Popular, called me. And then 2 weeks later, the socialists, which are like the Democrats in a way, called me. And they said, why don't you join us to take these issues to Brussels? And then I said, something is happening here. If the two parties approached me. So now I am getting some people who are helping me with the fundraising, because it does take money. But again, I do think I will be in the European Parliament after May 26th next year. Anyway, so best of luck, and we have to keep on working together from Europe, from America, South America, all of that. And he's my candidate for Illinois. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jose.
I gotta move with him.
All right, so any further questions or comments? Charlie, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I work with, I'm the director of networking for the California Transhumanist Party, naturally because I'm from Chicago. So, but it's a small group, so we got to bring all of our resources from wherever it might be. First, I want to say we should nominate Natasha, when the time comes for nominees. I think she might really be able to be that. She was born here, and she's had experience, and you can see how articulate she is. Mm-hmm. I think that it's important that when we put together the idea of what the Transhumanist Party is for, and we want to attract more people, that we don't just have those same general platitudes that you hear from other parties, because then we look like we don't see the differentiation. So if we just say, we're all inclusive, well, all parties say that, right? And we have a big umbrella, yeah, and we do. But we want to get to those points that are, because it's networking and marketing, right? So when we want to get that point out to the people to get them over here, we want to be able to say, well, we're the party of technology. And now it's got to be short and succinct so they get it. And then you say, well, we're also the party that wants to advance removal of disease. Now those are positive and those are important to everybody, and we can approach that to younger people. That's part of what I'm looking at to do, especially being out in California doing networking here. Celebrities might seem superficial, but boy, they can get the word out real fast, especially young celebrities. When I had my conference in Chicago, and I had Ray as my keynote speaker, and I had Peter Diamandis, and I had Aubrey de Grey, and I had Natasha, Martine Rothblatt, I had Marvin Minsky, I thought everybody was going to come. You know what? Tickets were still hard to get sold. When I got William Shatner, sold out.
That's right.
He's like, oh, William Shatner, okay. I mean, even here at RAAD Fest, Suzanne Summers is a big draw. So, if we get a celebrity on board, it's going to move this thing. The exposure will be big. They even have, as long as they agree with one point, if they say like, oh, the party of, like what you just differentiate with GMOs, which is really important because it got such a negative name attached to it because of Monsanto, but there's a lot of good for it. And if we can say something about, well, we can do this, and you get somebody, it doesn't, like, I don't know, Lady Gaga, or somebody where they have a huge following and they don't look so bad in the press because we don't want to just get anybody, but we get some celebrity that says, oh yeah, that's great. I guarantee you'd really have a big flood of people now looking at this. And that's why I'm really looking to try to get that out there. And that's part of what, I mean, even getting Ray here, like Newton had asked me if Ray would come, to come talk. And he was open to the idea, but unfortunately he had to fly out last night. But, he's got his new book called Danielle, which addresses the point we were just talking about, because it's about including women in the whole movement. So that's why he specifically made the character for his first novel as a female. That's the protagonist. From the time she's born until about 22, where she goes around and solves all these world problems. But that character, even though he doesn't refer as her as a transhumanist, represents exactly what our party does. So, and if you saw his video yesterday, it was all young girls talking about it. So he understands that. He's trying to bring that gender differentiation, like, closer together. So what I'm trying to do is, and because I'm helping him market his book, I'm also engaged with different celebrity types of people, and part of my company too, which is a software company that involves with celebrities. So I want to help that and then kind of shift it to get them here. Maybe we can have a, for the California Transhumanist Party, especially because it is Los Angeles, it is where all the celebrities are. We have a conference and we get just one celebrity, two, especially some of the young celebrities. They would like to be involved. I mean, if we could go to like the Parkland kids, how powerful they got? Unfortunately, because of that mass killing that happened in Florida, but now their social media is big, and they're looking to do good things. And you can go to them and say, hey, you know what? With advanced technology, maybe we can figure out who's got these guns or whatever, however we want to do it. But anyway, that's the point I'm trying to get. Because I know that sometimes I get pushback, well, you don't want to, it's artificial. I say, yeah, to get a celebrity in, but boy, you're going to have the exposure, I mean, that's why Zoltan had a bus that was, looked like a coffin. Just get it out there. That seemed a little crazy and stuff, but boy, that brought out some important. So I want to, that's kind of where I'm at with this.
Yes, and I think it would be important.
Yes, absolutely. I like your music video a lot. That's a great,
Oh, the music. Oh,
the music video.
Yeah.
No, it actually, talk about transhumanism is a very exciting way, especially to young people who love music and so on. So there are many ways to, get the information across. It doesn't have to be, here's a technology, but some people don't like technology so much, right? But they're still glued to Facebook, Instagram, social media, even if they're not in technology, you see. So my point is that you can reach out to everybody through all kinds of things. Music is one way, and celebrities another way. And Hollywood is kind of shallow, yes, but celebrities can actually help drive a movement. So I think, thank you, Charlie, for being a part of it.
Well, you're welcome. I want to do whatever I can to help this movement. Obviously, I've been involved in this for a long time, too. It's something I believe in, and I'm glad to see that it's gotten traction. I think, in a broader sense, you see that happening with females anyway. I mean, what we're saying, like, why aren't there more females in this? Well, that's kind of true for all parties, right? I mean, even in the U.S. Congress, it was barely any. But now that movement's happening. There's a tipping point. You can see with the Me Too movement. So I anticipate that's going to happen even for the Transhumanist Party, because it's a wave that's happening throughout all of society. So you'll see more and more women in there. but I think there are ways that we can approach different people. There's different celebrities out there that we don't even realize, like Carly Kloss happens to be a major supermodel. Tall, beautiful girl, she's best friends with Taylor Swift, she's all over the place, and she started coding with Klossy, where she teaches young girls about coding. And she's got those now popped up all over the country. Well, I've been talking to her manager to get her to do an endorsement for Ray's book. So you can imagine if we can get her on board, or just have her come in, she doesn't have to be a declared transhumanist, although she might become at some point, but have her come in, and that would the press would follow like crazy. Well, what you doing? What's this? Transhumanist, okay. Boy, that's kind of where I'm at.
Hey,
Yes.
I have to be in a board meeting thing, but I'm going to bring Britt in here, and I just wanted to say hi. I'm really depressed I'm missing this.
Well, I'm so pleased that at least you stopped by.
I can't live a long life with depression, though. So if that other thing gets done quick, I'm going to come in here, but Britt's going to come in here.
Okay, great.
And she'll be like seeing what you guys are doing, and then
We're taping it anyway, so.
super awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're going to be here for about another 12 minutes, and then we'll wrap up for lunch.
Oh, are you live?
Well, we are recording, or at least attempting to record via camcorder, but I think the scope of the camcorder's field of view probably spans this range here. So Liz,
There's
I'm
one
over here.
female in the world that wants you to live a long time, and that's it.
They're probably more than that.
Yeah, but here today.
Well, we had Natasha Vita-More before, but we're so thrilled that you came by to visit.
I'm kidding. Everybody wants to live, so I'm very excited. Hey, I want to say hi to you.
I know, it's great to see
I
you.
saw some great videos.
Oh,
yesterday.
thank you so much.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm late, so now other people hate me. Bye.
Just to add on to what Charlie was saying, there's nothing inauthentic about that. We need to spread our message. We need to get the word out. If we can do it through a celebrity endorsing it, absolutely, let's do it. Listen, we need to get the Pope to sign off on transhumanism.
Speaking of which,
That's
we just had a celebrity visit us. She is.
Yeah.
She is.
How funny was that? I'm like, females, blah, blah, blah. And she walked in. So let's all start praying for it's just going to start popping in. That was kind of like a pretty funny
Charlie,
segue.
you're absolutely right. I agree 100% with what you just said. We do need that. We need to spread the word. Listen, if that's what it takes, that's what we're going to do. Easier said than done, obviously. But I think that's a brilliant idea. Because having a celebrity, 1 celebrity, 2, 3, 5, however many, and maybe they just pick one point that they feel passionate about, that's fine. That's what we need to do. We need to latch onto that, and it really will catch on like wildfire. Imagine having a celebrity endorse one of our platform points. Huge. That's exactly what we need, and it will really just exponentially grow after that. That's really we need to take advantage of that and seize upon whatever synergies we can in order to make that happen.
And if you get one celebrity, it tends to validate the idea for other celebrities. I tell that to the guys at RAAD Fest. I was like, well, you got Suzanne Summers. She's got friends that are celebrities. I'm sure that if she just, reached out to, all of a sudden they'd have another one, and it just
Right.
kind of could be that domino effect.
Right.
And that's what we want to be able to do. By the way, Liz Parrish is another person we should try to convince to run. For office, something.
Well, she's an excellent advocate for longevity, and certainly her story does lend her a celebrity status, the amount of media coverage that she has received, in part because she took the tremendous risk that she did, and she was the first person to do it, really have made an impact on our movement. Now, in terms of celebrities, one advantage we have is, well, transhumanism is an integrated philosophy and worldview. It's also modular in the sense that somebody can advocate one aspect of transhumanist thinking or life extension or a particular field of technology. Somebody could be, say, focused on education through computer games, and that could be that person's core area of interest and expertise, and that person could still be an effective advocate within the broader umbrella of transhumanism and the Transhumanist Party, as long as that individual says something or does something that aligns with our mission, they can help. And especially if this becomes associated in the public eye with the term transhumanism or with the Transhumanist Party, that can help us. Because I don't want to centrally plan this movement at all. I can't predict which technologies are going to become widespread next. Ray Kurzweil may have his general timeframes for when the technological singularity will arrive, when particular technologies will converge and have which effects. But on a more, let's say, local time frame, in 5 years, which area is going to be farther advanced than which other area, I can't tell you that. I think even Ray Kurzweil would have to estimate. So whoever is pushing forward, whichever fields of technology or rational discourse more generally, is welcome to be a part of our movement. So I think you're right, Charlie. The celebrity can agree with us on one key point and advocate that and say that he or she is a transhumanist, and that would be beneficial for us on net. So I really hope you succeed in your efforts to find such a celebrity. And Newton, you being based in Los Angeles, I think makes you the ideal person to coordinate meetings, events, outreach, especially given that you've assembled a team of officers who can help with that.
Yes, and Charlie, of course.
Yes.
You're in Chicago and LA both, right?
Yeah, I come out here
Yeah.
quite often. That's
Exactly.
part of the reason. It wasn't just because we didn't have it, but I really do come out here a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm more than excited and happy to keep pushing this forward.
Yeah, so I think,
it could work out.
we need to set a good example. That's really what it's about, a good example. So it doesn't matter which area of technology you're in or which, celebrity, helping us. Each person need to set a good example, and that will drive the party forward. Because we really need to differentiate ourselves from Republican, Democratic, and other parties existing today. That will also solve the financial issue, because it does cost money to rent a meeting room, to bring food to people and things like that. They're not free. So we need to have some kind of donation or something like that. But that only works if we have differentiate ourselves from others, and people see the value in joining us.
So we have a few more minutes if anybody else has any questions or comments. Hearing none, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here today. I think it was a productive discussion. Hopefully we will be able to release a recording in either video or audio format within the next several weeks. And let's hope this motivates the rest of the world to see the value in transhumanist ideas and our movement in pushing forward any area of technological progress that people think will benefit the human condition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.